I'm so excited. Somebody has finally given me an excuse to show off my Dell OptiFLEX. This is a Dell OptiPlex 9010. It has a Intel Core i7 3770 non-K. This is 4-core, 8 threads, about 3.5-ish gigahertz. It'll clock up to like 3.7, I believe. This is Ivy Bridge, so it's the first year that they started using Intel brand toothpaste, but it works perfectly fine for what we're doing. It's nothing crazy. Now, this cost $150. And for that $150, you get your i7 4-core, 8 threads, like I said. You get 4 gigabytes of RAM, DDR3, God only knows what megahertz that is. And then you get whatever size hard drive that they're willing to throw in it, an optical drive, which is kind of rare nowadays, and a 250-watt power supply, and then a box to keep it all in. So this is like a low-profile version of a Dell Optiplex. You can buy a like full-size version, but at the same time, that full-size version doesn't come with that much bigger of a power supply, so you're realistically looking at like a 1660 super tops for like power in that, because then you're buying a new power supply and it kind of starts messing with the price too much, then it doesn't feel quite as justifiable. So for this, we have the slim form factor. It is just big enough to fit a decent sized graphics card in. So this is a NVIDIA GTX 1650. Now this is the most powerful low profile graphics card that you can buy. And also no external power. Like, it literally plugs directly into the PCIe slot. You plug it in, you're off to the races. Then you get yourself some 16 gigabytes of DDR3. This is 1600 megahertz, but like 1866 megahertz RAM can be had for about that $50 mark. And then a solid state drive. You can get whatever size you want, but any solid state drive is better than the hard drive that comes in this thing. I don't want to say what I paid for this graphics card, but I'll say it anyway. I paid $150 for this. If you can find it at $150 right now, go ahead and buy it and then resell it, because these things are going for like $300+ right now. It's not worth building. Please don't bother building anything right now. If you're gonna build anything right now, buy a pre-built. It's probably your best option. Like, trying to buy individual parts right now is a nightmare, especially graphics cards. So if you can get them in a pre-built, go ahead and do that. That's your best option into PC gaming right now. But when graphics card prices do come down, you can build yourself a Dell Optiplex. You need nothing but parts. These things are entirely modular. You can take them apart, put them back together with just your hands. So I'm going to show you guys just how easy that is. So first things first, you unlatch the top, it comes right open. It hooks into the bottom, it goes back on. That's pretty easy. So the first thing you do is you can either leave the hard drive in there, or you can take it out, throw it away because it's a hard drive and you don't want it, but it's extra storage if you need it. So go ahead and get yourself an SSD, plug it in, and then steal the SATA port from the optical drive unless you plan on using the optical drive. In that case, you need another SATA cable, but go ahead and plug that into your SSD. Then take some tape. Tape that bad boy in there. Don't let it go anywhere. I mean, it's an SSD, so it's not like it's going to go very far, and it doesn't weigh that much, so it's not like it can really damage itself. Just go ahead and tape that thing in there. Yeah, good enough. It's not going anywhere. It's good to go. Then take this 4 gigabytes of RAM and throw it in the trash. Or in my case, keep it somewhere just in case I might need it. Then go ahead, drop your sticks of RAM, and I'll show you guys. Well, actually, good idea. Just push that out of the way so you can see it. First stick of RAM goes in that slot, just like in the other PC build. Second stick of RAM goes in this slot. Okay. RAM's installed. Just keep it in those two spaced out slots like that. So 1 and 2. It's even labeled on the motherboard, so that's kind of weird. Go ahead and jam the optical drive back in. That's what I love about these things. Like, even if you wanted to take the hard drive out, you can just take it out with. It's so easy. Make sure your tape doesn't hit your fan. Or just tape it up over the fan. Good to go. Then you install your graphics card. You just unlatch that, and then you can pull the I/O shield out of there. Obviously, I already have the I/O shield out of there. I've had this PC on loan for a while now, and I've been waiting to get it back because I've been super excited to show you guys how to put this thing together. So all you need to do is jam it up over here. Try not to hit the motherboard with the I/O. It's like this part here. Try not to hit the motherboard with that. It's not nice to the motherboard. And just come on, get in there. Latch it in, and then it's latched in. That's it. It's ready to go. Like, it cannot get any easier than that. Like, if you wanted to, it'd probably be a good idea to put new thermal paste on one of these, because a 3770 is like pushing like 7 years old, or 7 or 8 years old at this point. So probably a good idea to put new thermal paste on there, but to each their own. It's got Intel brand toothpaste under it anyway, so it's probably not doing that great. I'm gonna go ahead and throw a different hard drive, soft solid state drive in here, because this has games on it, and I want to show you guys how well it plays games, how well it plays Cyberpunk. Boom, it's together. Now, let's go ahead, plug a keyboard, mouse into it. Let's get into some games, and you guys can see how good these things really are. For whatever reason, whenever I plug this thing in, it just turns on its own. It's really weird. Like, I wonder if there's something wrong with the power button. And just let it do its own thing until it posts. Then just hit F2. Now, if you install Windows on the SSD, sometimes it'll want to boot off of the hard drive, just even if the hard drive has no files on it at all. It'll just say no drive detected or something. Or it'll try to boot off it. Just change the boot sequence to UEFI, and you'd be good to go. But sometimes if you're using a solid state drive that already has Windows installed on it, it'll just pick it up and go. So I don't know. If you have any trouble booting off of your solid state drive, just go into the BIOS by pressing F2 and change that over to UEFI, and it should sort itself out. So without a graphics card in here, it can play games at like 720p. It'll play games like League of Legends at like 90 FPS at 720p and like 40-ish FPS at 1080p. It'll play like Skyrim at like 30-ish FPS at 720p. So you can play some games without a graphics card. So if you wanted to pick one of these up and just start playing games, it's not a great experience, but it will do it. But on that note, let's go ahead and try out some games, you know? Why not? Games. Oh, I gotta hook up Wi-Fi to it. So these things don't have Wi-Fi. And you can do the ghetto Wi-Fi, which is to plug your phone in and then tell it to USB tether. And if your phone's hooked up to your Wi-Fi, then you can just leech off of your phone. Or if your phone's hooked up to any real network, it'll work. But ghetto Wi-Fi. So we'll use for pretty much everything here on Coil Line. On another note, because this is like a business class PC, the LAN on it is like perfectly good. Let's try out some League, shall we? Because you know everybody wants to play League. Or do you? Probably not. Alright. Alright, okay. We're good? Alright, let's uncap this frame rate. So we're playing League at what? 150, 40 FPS? I'm pretty sure it can do higher than this. Yeah, I guess it's just munching away at it. 170. I think if we set it all to low, will it do it? Uh-oh. What did I do? Yeah. So 200 plus FPS in League. No problem here. Just good. I could have swore I was getting more FPS last night. I don't know what I did. I mean, like, do you really need more than 200 FPS in League when you're playing on an Optiplex? Like, you're not running a 200 plus refresh rate monitor. So yeah, about 150-ish FPS in League. That's perfectly acceptable. All right, what else do we want to play? Do we want to play some Shadow of the Tomb Raider? Screw it, let's run it. Like, I know that this will play like Skyrim, Fallout, Grand Theft Auto, all that at like 60 FPS, like no problem. So this is a more challenging title. We should probably still see about 60 FPS at like medium settings. One thing to think about when you're running in this system is that graphics card is still a spicy boy. Like, it has a solid aluminum cooler on it. Like, it's like machined from like a solid brick of aluminum, so it's not the best cooler in the world. So when I'm playing a higher stress game, I'll take the side panel off, let it breathe more freely. What do we got? We got pretty much medium graphics. Let's go ahead and run the benchmark. You could even potentially try overclocking this graphics card, but with that cooler on it, it's kind of restricted, and with the side panel on it, it will definitely thermal throttle. So take it with a grain of salt. This is pretty much as good as it's going to get for a fixed amount of time. Like, if you're playing something, anything with uncapped frame rate, that thing's going to overheat and start thermal throttling. So it just is. So we're getting like 60 FPS in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Pretty good, you know, medium settings. Drops to around 50. Game doesn't look too bad. Definitely playable. Go ahead and exit out of that. I don't want to sit through the entire benchmark. We're just trying to film a quick video before I go to sleep. It's such a good pairing between this GPU and CPU. Like, you could probably get a slightly better GPU and like use a riser and like some sketchy Molex to SATA to PCI 8-pin and run like a 1070 on this. But that's really where this this power supply is going to tap out. At 250 watts, you cannot ask it for too much. It will just turn off on you. What else do we want to play? I mean, you know, League of Legends, so pretty much your standard esports titles. It'll play that just fine. It'll play some more demanding titles like Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Pretty much okay. So I guess we should just go for broke. Just hit it with that Cyberpunk. Now, you cannot... I mean, you'll probably pay about the same for this as you would a PlayStation 5, and shoot, actually, you'd probably pay more for a PlayStation 5 right now, given that even though this graphics card is horrifyingly overpriced, it's still cheaper than a PlayStation 5 overall, because, you know, people are scalping PlayStation 5s for like $800+, so you could probably still build this for cheaper than a PlayStation 5. So, can it play Cyberpunk better than a PlayStation 5? And I seriously doubt it can, but I'm sure it will play it, and we'll have to see how well it plays it. Let's go ahead and check out these settings here. So I'm going to go ahead and run it on all low, field of view 80, turn off all the motion blur. Just run it on all low, and then we'll have to step it up from there, but I think all low is pretty much where this thing's going to be tapped out at. This is a really demanding game, and from what I can tell, this hardware is fairly similar to the hardware that we used in the playing Cyberpunk on a PC from 2013 video, so I feel like this is going to play pretty similar to that, and that didn't play too bad, so let's find out. So the game doesn't look, I mean, the game looks really good even in its like most basic state. Like, this is not a bad looking game on all low. It could look better, obviously. There's some weird, you know, lack of shadows here, but... Uh-oh. Did I kill myself? I'm okay! But yeah. What are we getting? We're getting like 50-something FPS. You know, is it going to dip down to the 40s? Not too bad. Let's go ahead and up the settings a little bit. Let's just hit it with medium real quick. So we drop down to like 40-ish, 30-ish. So I think if you're playing this on, you know, medium settings, you could probably optimize this. Like, this game can definitely be optimized to where you can get some pretty good looking settings and it play perfectly fine. I just don't know those settings, nor do I really care to figure it out. But I think this is perfectly good hardware for playing Cyberpunk on, so that's pretty impressive. Like, to think that I paid about $400-ish for what did I pay? Yeah, about $400. So $150 for the actual housing, the Optiplex, the base system, and then $50 for the SSD, $50 for the RAM, and then $150 for that 1650. Now that's the DDR6 version of the 1650, and they're pretty much impossible to find right now. So unfortunately, I can't say that you're going to be able to get this right now, but at that price point, this thing is phenomenal. It runs great. Especially the fact that I can play Cyberpunk. Like, holy crap. Like, how much are PlayStation 4 still going for? I mean, I'm sure they're going for like 300, maybe 200. Probably 200. I don't know. I have one. I never touch it. But it can play pretty much anything you really want it to play. I know for a fact that this will play like Call of Duty at like around 100 FPS at all low. Like we're talking basic Play-Doh settings, but it'll do it. And that's really it, guys. You know, if you enjoyed this video, I want to thank, what was your name? Was it like Dank GM Wheelies or something? Oh, God, I hate it when I do this because I'll look at it 100 times and I just won't know who it is. The name won't stick. So I'm sorry if I got your name wrong, guy. You know, thanks for reaching out and asking for an OptiFLEX video. It's about time that I did it. I've had this for a while. And if you like this video, go ahead and like the video. Get subscribed for future OptiPlex content, maybe. I kind of want to I kind of want to apply liquid metal to that CPU, so that'd be pretty cool to try. I wonder if it would just boost all the time. That would be really cool. So, I don't know, maybe get me like 20, I'm going to say, yeah, give me like 20 likes. I don't care. I'll make it happen. And that'll be it for today, guys. Thanks for watching.